Hey everyone, it's Lindsay Hoffman and welcome to Dose of Bliss. If you're new here, please hit the subscribe button. Today we have entertainment reporter and podcast host Sam Davidson. I'm so happy to have you on the show today.
Me too. Thanks for having me. I've wanted to be on for a while and we're friends, so I'm so thrilled to talk to you.
Yes, for those of you watching, I met Sam on a red carpet at Wango Tango actually, and she is an amazing journalist. She's one of the good ones. You always hear about crazy people in the entertainment world. She's one of the people who will fight for you, who's so nice, and she's super spiritual, and everyone loves when I have deep talks, so I had to have you on the show.
Thank you, and same goes for you. That means a lot to me.
So let's start talking about, how you manifested the career to be a journalist. I know as much as you do, this is a really hard industry to be in, and you kind of created opportunities for yourself. How did you do that?
Ever since I was little, I wanted to do something in entertainment. I feel like a lot of people in entertainment, they started off wanting to be a movie star, which kind of is what happened to me. I just would daydream all the time, and I didn't realize what a cool thing daydreaming was when I was younger. Like, I remember just sitting on the bus, looking out the window. I thought one day I was going to play Britney Spears in her biopic. Just wanted to do so bad. I know, but I always knew I'm from Cleveland, Ohio originally, and I was like, I want to go to California for college, to LA, and I just belonged there. And every year our school would basically have a map and then put pins on it with the people's faces of where they got into college and where they were going next year. And every year when I saw USC, like, I would put my finger on the pin and just be like, that's where I'm going, that's where I'm going, that's where I'm going. And I worked my ass off and was annoying as hell to get in. Like, I called, I emailed, I got people to write me recommendation letters, and I sent them edible arrangements afterwards. Like,
oh my gosh, an edible arrangement.
Oh yeah, I was like, hey, Mom, Dad, can I use your credit card? I got to send them an edible arrangement to get them to write me this letter of recommendation. But I knew I wanted to be a journalist, writer, actor, the whole acting thing. Once I got to college, I was a double major in journalism and theater. And by the end, I knew that I didn't want to go in the acting direction. But, that's like the first part of the story. And I made it out to LA, and I'm home in Ohio at the moment, and I miss it already. And then I really bopped around the industry a little bit. I think it was low self-esteem and self-worth that I thought that I was really only worth something by working for a big executive in an office. And I did that for a long time. I was an assistant. This was pre-Me Too movement. And, I saw a lot of I would get really upset by some of the stuff that I saw and sometimes the way that I was treated. So then finally started doing stand-up comedy. That really had me break out of my shell again.
You did that.
Really? Yeah, I did it for actually close to 5 years. It's been a little bit since I've been back on stage. And then I started doing hosting work, and that's when I really kind of put my eye on the prize. And it took to the point where I didn't have a full-time job, and I was doing a lot of hosting work for free. And I was put in a corner, and I was like, what am I going to do? I need to find something. And so I found something online called 555 Manifestation, where you, do you know what that is?
No, I don't know.
So you basically write down what you want, one sentence, and you write it down 55 times, 5 days in a row. And it was around that time that I got contacted on LinkedIn by this company called MEA, which I worked for the past 2 years. And it was exactly what I wanted and exactly what I was trying to manifest. To this day, that 555 manifestation thing is just wild to me. I think it totally works.
So what did you write down every day? I know and everyone who watches my channel knows affirmations work, because I wrote down every day that I was going to be an entertainment reporter as well. And within 3 months, I got a job at InTouch Weekly. Mm-hmm. So it's so powerful, but I hadn't heard of this method. What were you writing down?
I think I was writing, I want to be a full-time paid employee as an entertainment news journalist. And I want to write and produce and host. And it was one of those, it was a very long statement. And I remember after I started it the first day, I'm like, oh my God, why did I make this so long and so detailed? Because I had to write it so many times. But that's exactly what happened. And then these people reached out to me and then I had that job for almost 2 years, and then the world crumbled. So
That's how the law of attraction works, though. Have you read The Alchemist?
yes.
Oh, that's a great book. And in The Alchemist, it's not a true story, but it's based kind of off of the law of attraction. When you're meant to do something, it happens without resistance at the beginning, but then you find resistance after. But that just means you're on your path. And I feel like that's what you're experiencing, and that it's normal to have
Yeah,
things
it's funny. I really want to do the 5-5-5 thing again, but the thing is I don't know what I want right now, and that's kind of really tripping me up because I don't know what it is that I want. I don't know what it is that the world is going to look like, because I don't want to set myself up for failure by aspiring to do something that's not going to be around in a year, you know?
I think this is a really interesting topic because this is what holds me back as well. And that's the key thing that stops people from manifesting is when you don't know what you want, you will get like little bits and pieces of the different things you want, and you will just remain feeling stagnant. And I'm in a place of that right now as well. Of course, we push through it. Can you share any of the things that you don't know what you want, but like the battle that's going on inside your mind?
Yeah. I basically made a choice a couple of months ago, 6 weeks ago, that I was going to put my stuff in storage and go be with family for a little bit, because I had gotten laid off, and I was alone all the time, and I was like, I just kind of need to go home and recharge. And so that's what I've been doing. And now I'm here, and I thought I was going to be back in LA by the fall, but I need there to be real change in the world before I want to go back out. And it doesn't seem like there's going to be. So, now people are like, well, how about if you worked at the news here for a little bit? And I'm like, well, I've actually never even thought about it. That's never even really crossed my mind. But now that I'm looking into it, am I open to it? Maybe. I don't know what opportunities are there for me in that way. And so I am doing a Zoom call this week with one of my friend's sisters, who is a news producer, to kind of give me some options. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't really watch the news, especially right now.
Yeah.
My forte is entertainment and now spirituality with my Spiritual Spiral podcast. And, I can do some lifestyle stuff, but I guess I just need to open my horizons to things maybe I'm uncomfortable with, but that will make me learn and grow as a person and as a journalist and as a host. So I guess that I'm open right now to stuff like that. So that's where I'm at.
I think everybody has that dilemma. Like, do I want to be home with my family? Do I want to like go this route? It's almost when you have experience manifesting, you can manifest whatever it is that you want, but then you're like, but what do I want? There's so many options, like so many roads lead to Rome. And I know it sounds like a crazy problem to have, but you're like, when you experience, like, can you explain what it's like being a journalist? How much time goes into it? Because I think when you experience that, how much time you put in, and if you work for people, you're like, I want to make sure where I go next, I'm treated the way I want to be treated. I have the life I want. You start out and you hustle and you're willing to give everything up. But after you give everything up, you're like, okay, now I want that balance.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's also important to remember too, something I want to share is that before I've manifested something that I wanted, that when I got it, I was like, oh no, actually, I don't want this. This isn't for me. I manifested working for a TV show runner, and I got to be in a writer's room and do that whole thing. And honestly, it was one of the worst experiences of my life. And that's what I really thought at the time that I wanted to do. I was always getting distracted by this. I just didn't think I was like pretty enough to be in front of the camera. I didn't think I was good enough, that I had enough confidence. And I just like really been pushing those things off of myself to explore all these other ways that weren't me to work. But yeah, being a journalist is hard, and most of us do producing, writing, pitching, booking, like we do everything. But I love it. Like it makes me very happy and excited. So
you finally found what you love.
So
the self-worth is really interesting too. You only started manifesting when you started to believe in yourself a little bit more. What inspired that shift?
I don't know, but definitely doing some more self-love. And I hate to admit it, but I am the kind of person, if someone tells me you're great, you're on the right path, you're good, it definitely helps me. Like words of affirmation from others helps me, which is stupid. Like I want to get to the point in my life where words of affirmation from myself help me. But it got to the point where I was like, whatever, let's see what happens. Just going to put myself out there, and stand up certainly helped in that respect, because I would just get on stage and people would say, how were you not nervous? You looked like you weren't nervous. And I would say, well, I wasn't really nervous. And definitely helped with my confidence that people were so impressed by it. And that, you know, I was like, well, I can really do anything if I can get up and tell jokes, and even like it doesn't go well, and just be okay with it, and, you know, have a good time. So I think that really helped me a lot. And I suggest stand-up improv, like, to anybody, even if you have no desire to be in front of the camera or be a performer. It is so good for your self-esteem to really get to know yourself and see like how funny you are.
It's so interesting too that the secret to manifesting is really loving yourself. You hear that when you're little, all you need to do is love yourself, but you don't realize it till you're older, because you have to, if you believe in yourself, others believe in you. When you were doing the, what was it, the five manifestations? What was it called?
555 manifestation.
What did you notice each day? Did you notice a change within your thought process?
Yeah, I did. I definitely noticed that I really wanted what I was saying. And I noticed that it was kind of effortless. Like the first 2 days, you know, your hand hurts, this is annoying, this is boring. And then by the third day, you kind of really start to believe it, and you're excited. And like, I didn't want to stop at day 5, but that's what I was supposed to do. But I wanted to just keep on going.
You could. What happens if you keep going, you know? I guess after day 5, though, you manifested within 5 days, right?
Yeah, it was like a day later or something that I got these messages on LinkedIn, and yeah, it was really crazy and super.
It was like the validation you needed.
And to also know that you're powerful, and that, you know, even whatever you want to call it, spiritual, witchy, woo-woo, whatever, that like you actually have the power to make serious change just with who you are and your thoughts. And I think that that is the biggest thing that gives me confidence, is when I see that I actually have power in something, and that makes me keep going.
So what's your advice to people? They're just starting manifestation. And one of my followers messaged me today, and she says she's beginning her self-love journey, her manifestation journey. What's the first thing, like what are the first 3 steps someone should take when they, you know, those days where you can't get out of bed because you have so much anxiety? What do you do?
Really try to dig deep, even if you feel like you don't, like, think about the best things about you. Try to come up with and write them down, even if it's like 3 or 5. But when you start, more things will come out, or experiences that you're proud of, and just boost your own self-confidence, because it's so easy. And I'm sure as a journalist, like, you get it. People from home are always like, oh my God, what you do is so cool, it's so amazing. And you're like, no, what are you talking about? And then you realize, yeah, it actually is really cool.
Yeah, because it's like that saying, like, at one point you wanted to be where you are right now, but we're on the carpet and we see how far you can go. But people who aren't doing that, you know, they're not on the red carpet like we are. You kind of have to remember, no matter what you're doing, not just a journalist, that there was a point you wanted to be where you are today, and that you always need to enjoy the present moment, because everyone I've interviewed, even people who have achieved things that I look at and I'm like, wow, I want to be there someday, they keep saying, I have to remember to be grateful, because I just keep thinking, I want to be here. That feeling, I don't think is ever going to stop, you know? And so we need to always live in the present moment. If we're not happy right now, when are you happy? You only have now.
And I also, around the same time, I did a 555 thing. I had a manifest a law of attraction journal every day. It was like a calendar. So every day I would write down what I needed to do, a to-do list, everything that I'm grateful for, how I felt. I don't do it anymore, and I really should, but that was extremely helpful too. So you could really track it and remember to be grateful, and remember to say thanks, and think about how other people must view you and your situation.
I like, though, how you say you don't always do it, because when people look at someone like you, or even like me, I get messages being like, oh, like, I can't do this or I can't do that. And I don't write down my affirmations every single day. Sometimes you get on the phase. Like, I went through my journal the other day and I realized there's a pattern. I'd have a bad day, be stressed about something. I would have a crazy dream. I'd write down the dream. Apparently, when I read it back, that dream related to what I was feeling that day. Then for like the next week, every day I wrote affirmations. It was like this healing pattern. And like, we're not perfect people. there's no way to be perfect and do it every day. Sometimes you'd want to not get out of bed and sleep all day. And that's, I think the difference is, and I mean, Sam and I, we freaked out to each other all the time, you know, behind the scenes. And I think there's days that you need to allow yourself to feel that way, and people don't think that that's part of the process.
Yeah. And I think one of the most frustrating parts about this time right now that we're all going through is that there was really nothing that we could have done to control it, or to stop it. And, you know, with manifestation, it's like, oh, we have the power. But with this pandemic, like, we're extremely powerless. So I think that definitely kind of lowers our vibration. I think it certainly has with mine, and makes you a little less powerful. And I don't really know the answer to how to make you feel better, because I feel powerless. I feel frustrated that I can't do something to really change the situation.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's where moments like this come, though, is when everything is stripped away from you, what do you have left to take your strength from and to find your value from? I think that's a time where we have to dig deep and find that. And what I see a lot of people doing, and something that I'm doing and that I know you're doing, is creating things for yourself, like your podcast. And you have a super spiritual podcast, which I wanted to talk about, and it shows you are doing something.
Yeah. And that's funny, because I keep on reminding myself that, like, I feel as though sometimes I'm lazy, I'm complacent, I'm not doing anything. I haven't been doing anything of value in the past few months. And then I get a message from someone that says, I listened to your podcast, and first of all, I can barely listen to other podcasts I normally do, because they don't seem like, I just want to talk about what's happening and I want to feel better about it. And that's what we do on our show. I host it with another journalist, Sari Cohen, and she's my good friend and very spiritual. And like, every time she was on the carpets with me, all she would say 24/7, even if she was the last in line, is, I am so grateful and I'm so excited to be here. And like, it really shows. And so every week we interview an expert in the spiritual field, whether that's a psychic, medium, healer. Today we had an astrologer on, and to talk about what everything means that's happening right now, things you can do to ground yourself and keep your frequency and energy up and positive, and, you know, just kind of not ignore what's happening in the world, but also acknowledge that what's happening is also spiritual. You know, it's kind of like a great awakening for so many people. It's not a coincidence that right now a lot of things unrelated to coronavirus, like, you know, the BLM movement, and everything is coming to light right now. Mm-hmm. Even if it's ugly. So yeah, that's what we talk about. And I think it's helped me tremendously. Like, selfishly, I'm so glad to be doing it, because like, it has helped me so much. And even if it's, you know, not the most successful thing in the world, like, we're doing great, but that I don't care, because I know that it's something that really has helped myself during this time. And I love when people say it's helped them too.
Yeah. You know, when you're living in alignment with your truth, that shows. Because when I think of you, I think about your show. Like, I want to root for it. Like, oh, you should do that, you know, and you should do that and partner with other places. And it's interesting, because I go through the same thing myself, where you're hard on yourself. You think, oh, I'm not doing anything. But I look at you, and on the days I feel like I can't do something, I look at what you're doing, and I'm like, wow, you're doing so great with your show. This is like amazing and inspiring, you know?
I know. I was laughing when you said that to me a few months ago. I was like, me? No. You look good. No, it's not me. But then you pointed it out, the things that I'm doing and everything I've done. And then I thought, wow, I should be not so hard on myself and kind of acknowledge it, but also still push myself to do better and to do different things. So it's what I'm doing. And I love podcasting. It's one of my favorite things to do. And I think it's really cool. We can do stuff like this virtually. It's like we're in the same room, and it's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's just, I love how you're being so open about this, because I really just want to show people that you daily have to fight through your negative thoughts. Just because you manifested something in 5 days, you know, doesn't mean, even when you're living in that thing you manifested, that you're having days of struggle. We have to just wake up and be like, today I'm going to do this. I don't want to put on my makeup today. I don't want to do this today. No one's listening, whatever your negative thought is, but you just do it anyways. And eventually, it's like the stock market, you know, it goes up and down and up, but eventually it's an up trajectory. And I think we can look at our lives and see it that way.
Yeah, if we think about when we're hopefully old one day, when we, you know, finally die, which is dark, but, you know, when you think of your whole life as an old lady, you'll probably look back on this time and think, wow, that was pretty cool of me. Like, that was an awesome experience and something that I remembered. And that girl was a badass, and she had no idea. And, you know, I mean, I think about that when I look at pictures of myself when I was younger all the time.
That's what I was going to ask you actually next. I think we're on the same frequency. What is your advice to your younger self, or what do you say to yourself?
My God, have more confidence. Like you were, and, you know, I'm sure when I'm older, maybe I'll say I was a babe now, but I think I was such a babe when I was younger. Like just perfect as far as, you know, like I was so insecure about my body and this and that. And I look back and I think I was great. And I think that I didn't trust myself or my instincts. And I looked too much on outside validation, and I should have just done what my heart told me to do. Like I thought being in a sorority was so important when I was at USC. And I look back thinking, damn, I wish I went to the film school and just hung out with the film nerds and not worried, because I'm not friends with any of those superficial girls anymore. I'm really not. It was a waste of time. So that's what I think. Take bigger risks and stop having so much FOMO. Like I didn't study abroad because I was worried people would forget about me. That's so stupid. That's so dumb. I should have gone abroad, you know, but everything happens for a reason, I guess. So
yeah, and the thoughts that we have about ourselves aren't, I have a video about that coming out this week. They're not really happening. Like you could just make up this whole scenario that nobody is thinking about you except for yourself, and you have to check yourself with that.
Yeah, completely. And
So,
people are attracted to people that think highly of themselves.
Yeah, you always want to be around the most fun person in the room. If someone's having a good time, good energy, you're like, I want to know that person. Yeah. And that's what matters.
You know, agreed.
Well, we only have a few minutes left. So what's the biggest thing you want people to know?
You should listen to my podcast and watch it. It's called Spiritual Spiral, and you can find it on Instagram at Spiritual Spiral Show. And that I've had some really interesting conversations with people. Like one thing that I love, one of the interviews is there's a movie called Sliding Doors with Gwyneth Paltrow. And it's basically about what would happen if one small detail in this woman's life were different. And it shows the two different lives she'd have side by side. And that movie always messed with my brain. But one of the mediums I interviewed, and psychics, said to me, it doesn't matter what direction you choose to go, what's meant to be will always come back around. Like, and I always I think about people that fall in love on The Bachelor. If they didn't meet on The Bachelor and they're really soulmates, would they have ever met in real life? And I think the answer is yes. Whatever is meant to be will always be. And I think there's different kind of dimensions, like your decision to do this. I could have gone to a different college, you know, that would have been a different path for me. But I think I still, and everyone will have the same trajectory that you're supposed to in your life, and you can really manifest anything. And it's just kind of like a coloring book, but we're all going to the same place and same thing. And just don't beat yourself up too much during this time. Like the most successful people are beating themselves up too for no reason. So we all just need to kind of like get on the higher frequency and build each other up, because that's always helped me.
I like that. That gave me chills when you're saying that, like you are just meant for your perfect path. And at the end of the day, if society didn't existed, what do we have left? You know, that's the question I ask myself. What am I left with? Am I still happy? If the answer is yes, keep doing what you're doing. If the answer is no, then you have to make some changes. Because at the end of the day, nothing's going to give you fulfillment. You might be looking for happiness, passion, excitement, but that's not being fulfilled.
Yeah, no, exactly. And thank you so much for having me. I love your show and all the positivity, and definitely have you on ours too to talk more about manifestation and, you know, just being magical, because that's what we are. We can really do anything we want.
I'd love to be on the show. When that happens, when this is live, I will link it below. So when this is probably airing, that will probably be up. So everybody, you got to go click it. And also, where can people follow you? We obviously already have where they can follow your podcast, but what about you?
Yeah. And so, well, the podcast also is on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all of the podcast places, but they can find me at SamD43 on Instagram and Twitter. And right now you'll probably just be seeing a lot of spiritual things, a lot of things about how my mom is extremely obsessed with my cat. And she has her first granddaughter. So definitely still have a good sense of humor over here. And yeah, that's it.
You guys should definitely go follow Sam. She has this positive energy, something about her that you can't put your finger on that I can feel. So if you follow her, I know you'll feel it too. So that will be popping up on the screen. I'm going to link it below. And thank you so much for coming, Sam. And thank you everybody for watching. If you're new here, please subscribe to the channel. Please go follow Sam. And we'll see you next time for your next Discipline. Bye.